Willow, episode 7, title Beyond the Shattered Seas. This episode is the second last episode of this limited series because I doubt this show's going to get a season 2. I mean, let's be honest, like as much as a cult following as Willow has of, the movie, let's be honest, it's a cult. it's a small minority of people who remembered or I wouldn't be shocked for a lot of people, for the average goer, who maybe remember Willow and don't, love it. They're like, really? They're making a show out of that? They're doing technically Willow 2 as a TV show? Really? Doing a Top Gun Maverick thing? Really? Okay. And I think that's what's going to happen for the average goer, I think. Yeah, so they'll be like, okay, I'll wait till the next Star Wars or Marvel thing, which, is The Mandalorian by that case. But with this show, we are all aware that for 5 out of the 7 episodes, 4 out of the 7 episodes, because I didn't mind half of episode 1. But, let's say 4.5 episodes, I've been bad mouthing it. I'm saying, oh my god, that's this, what's that, there's this part, and this part, and this part. Last week I call it how long till The Last of Us comes along? Like, I feel, which is literally a week and a half away. That's literally my mindset right now. That's, when it comes to the show. And I'm not only watching it for you guys kind of thing, right? And then episode 6 comes along. I'm like, okay, that was fine. And then this episode happens. I'm like, this is not bad. Like, there's certain things I would cut out, or certain things, or really well plotted scene. But you know what it is? Most of this episode would work if the other episodes worked. Like, it was built on other episodes. Like, this is, knowing it's the second last episode, that they are kind of doing this big, not giant, not, wrapping up everything so you have a big bad boom, big showdown finale. But that you wrap up most or some of the resolution of the characters, understand what the characters are, and so with the finale, that at this point, and there's only little things, and we're not going to have the Disney Plus problem, which is, we'll wrap everything up in the finale, and every audience member's like, What, really? That's how we're going to wrap that storyline? Just by a sentence? Yeah, mostly that happens with the Marvel finales, where everyone's like, this feels too quick. This is too quick. There's no fluent question. That mostly happens with the Marvel finales. But when it comes with this episode itself, I think it's well acted. This beautiful digital cinematography. Let's call it digital cinematography, because clearly they're behind the volume most of this episode. They're in, they're on this, wet, my guess is, long beach. This beach that's just covered in water. And, when they're on that, clearly that's, they shot it somewhere and filmed it and shot, in a couple of days, a couple of weeks, or how long it took. But when it comes to, maybe on the island, and there's a scene between Honora, Dove and Kit, where I'm like, yeah, you're behind digital, but it's, really beautifully made. There's some scenes that definitely at the end, once again, it's clearly that, as much as the show is called Willow, the show's not about Willow. It's about young people. But this show is basically a CW show. It is basically a CW show in 8 parts, and I mean they do a big montage with some hip hop, something that the kids listen to song, during a training montage. And I'm like, okay. I think, when you have Wanted Man as your ending song, I'm like I'm a wanted man. I got blood on my hands. That song is Yen's. The song you play in the end credits. That's I was like, okay, it's not the worst one you've done. Still doesn't fit. Kind of flow well, but anyway. But it's a CW show, but it's the acting's great. The scenes that are happening are not bad scenes, and it is kind of wrapping things up in some storylines. Even though the whole Willow having flashback things, it just comes back and says, "Oh yeah, Willow has flashbacks." Like it just came, like it was kind of abandoned by like after episode 3, and it's like, no, episode 4. And you're like, they never bring it back, and then they do, and it just comes across as very like, and then we wrap it up. Which, fine. Like, you want to, focus on other things, but I'm like, at least bring it up. Like, hey, Willow has a flashback. He has a vision that things are going to go south, and, that's the case. Things are going to go south. And I'm like, there's action sequence, around halfway through that's pretty well put together. I did get a little bit peeved that, like, we're finding out who these, like, creatures are from, like, episode 1 that, stole the castle, got, Prince Eric. Eric sounds like a generic prince name, but, who kidnapped Eric and all that. And we're like, really? Episode 7 is where we find out who these guys are. I mean, the villains are basically... They're not villains. They're not characters. They're just there. They're there for the characters and that. And minus it's the classic. The real villain is clearly this girl, which I wish had a little bit more development. Maybe when we're like repeating scenes or having characters doing dumb things, that we are back here and kind of develop the character more, so we can literally, when the big reveal happens, like clearly she's up to something. I mean, clearly that. What has happened, like, clearly what has happened is that the villain, it's the young version of the villain from the movie. I think that's what it is, so you can have the showdown, the final, the fear, it's, you're doing that type of thing, But the biggest things are, like, because you don't feel it, the reason you don't feel it, even when the music's warming up, and the performance is pretty good, and that, and I was like, finally, this is how you tell the words you like someone in this adventure, when you're not in a super dangerous place, okay? Like, that's mostly just, the whole thing, in a super dangerous place, just on the sand, express your feelings, and you say you loved her, and you know it, and that. But yeah, I mean, this is a good episode. It's just it suffers that you don't feel anything because it didn't do much with the previous episodes. But as a standalone thing, it works. But as a whole, it doesn't. Which kind of suffers from the rest of the story and all that. But we only got one more episode to go until it's all done. I think, when's the next Disney Plus show? Is Mandalorian, isn't it? The next big one. So, yeah, which is Lucasfilm. Well, I'll... I wish there was 2 shows. So, because I'm doing Doctor Who. So there's a part of me that's like, change it up a bit for you guys in case you're not into Doctor Who, and you're like, oh, it's doing another one, generally there isn't much, to be safe to say. I'm waiting for DC, DC Studios to announce their slate so I can make that video for you guys. But yeah, we only got one more episode for Willow, and then it's on to... I try to make clicker noises. I can't do it. I can't make clicker noises.